Picture this. You fight a brutal, exhausting legal battle for years. You finally win a massive case at the Supreme Court. You've got the official court order right there in your hands. But what happens next? Well, welcome to the More We Know channel. Today's explainer is diving deep into the iceberg of injustice in Nepal. And we're exploring why simply swapping out the politicians at the very top hasn't fixed the deep, institutional freeze down at the bottom.
Seriously, think about that suspenseful reality for a second. Winning a major court battle in Nepal doesn't necessarily mean you get justice. Often, the government literally just leaves you on read.
And guys, that is just the tip of the iceberg. We are looking at a dismal 47.46% civil case execution rate. According to a recent interview in Rattopatsi with the Director of Execution of Judgments, it is basically a coin toss whether your hard-fought court victory actually translates into anything in the real world.
Now, you might be thinking, hey, what about the new generation of politicians? Won't they fix this? Well, let's talk about the illusion of new leaders.
There's this massive, long-standing assumption that electing highly educated politicians, like those from the Rastriya Swatantra Party with their shiny degrees, will just automatically clean up the government. But a sociological analysis from De Sanchar points out a pretty harsh reality. Putting a highly educated person into a system that strictly rewards short-term survival, it still leads to the exact same institutional failures. It's literally like pouring premium fuel into a completely busted engine. The engine still isn't going to run. The structural reality of coalition bargaining just completely swallows up all those good intentions.
And that broken engine creates this wild, active clash between the judiciary and the bureaucracy. Just look at these staggering numbers from Rattopatsi. Imprisonment judgments are implemented at just 28%. Fines are sitting at 30%. But get this, only 6% of crime victims actually see their court-ordered compensation. That means 94% of victims never see a single rupee. It completely exposes the courts as paper tigers when the government just stubbornly refuses to act.
So why the absolute gridlock? Well, officials are out here actively ignoring court orders, especially on land disputes in places like Sundara Haraicha. They get contempt of court warnings and just shrug them off. Why? Because they are terrified that if they execute a land transfer, the CIAA, the anti-corruption agency, might investigate them. Plus, as the execution director noted, there are heavy suspicions of Bhrashtachar, corruption, and hidden agendas, where officials just stall urban land cases to extract personal favors. It's totally paralyzing the system.
But plunging deeper into this iceberg, the human cost is absolutely heartbreaking. Right now, a staggering 83,000 victims are desperately waiting for Nyaya, for justice, following the armed conflict. We aren't just talking about unpaid fines here. We're talking about families who suffered horrific atrocities during the Maoist insurgency, and decades later, the state refuses to give them the closure they legally deserve. Look at how Sankramankalin Nyaya, or transitional justice, has been actively neglected. The conflict ended way back in 2006. Fast forward to May 2024, and the government just suddenly dismissed the commission office bearers through an ordinance. Today, those vital seats are sitting completely empty. The government isn't even consulting the victims to find replacements.
It is no wonder the frustrated #Gen Z protesters and victims' families are taking to the streets. The state is completely failing to provide them with the truth and dignity they deserve. Amnesty International really hit the nail on the head here. Without truth, there is no justice. The younger generation is totally done waiting, because hiding the truth is an active denial of justice. But let's say you do somehow make it to the courts. You just hit another massive wall of institutional decay.
The Asian Human Rights Commission reports over 20,000 pending cases at the Supreme Court. Less than 21% are being resolved. Almost 80% of the caseload is literally just gathering dust, primarily due to a severe shortage of appointed judges. The government is simply not appointing enough judges to hear the cases. And this translates into real, everyday human tragedy. Take the family of disappeared citizen Chori Maya Maharjan. Imagine waiting 2 full years just to get a hearing about your disappeared mother. The day finally arrives, you go to the Kathmandu District Court, and they tell you to go home because the judge just didn't show up. It is a system that exhausts people until they literally die seeking justice.
Ultimately, these aren't just isolated little glitches. They point to a fundamental crisis in constitutional culture and how state authority is respected.
To actually survive this, the system desperately needs a return to its philosophical roots, Raj Dharma and Lokasangraha.
Raj Dharma is that strict civic duty to protect justice, and Lokasangraha demands leadership focused entirely on collective welfare, not just clinging to power. It's a reminder that institutions exist to serve the governed, not the governors. Right now, both of these concepts are entirely missing from the bureaucratic equation.
So, I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought. A democracy absolutely cannot survive on laws alone. It requires trust. When court orders become paper tigers and the quest for Nyaya becomes a multi-generational waiting game, what happens when the people finally just stop believing in the system entirely? What's your takeaway from this growing institutional iceberg? Let us know in the comments, and thank you so much for joining us on the More We Know channel today. Keep exploring and never stop questioning the systems that shape our world.